Yo, what is going on, everyone? My name is Nick, or the Notorious Fantasy, and in today's video, I'm bringing you guys Week 11 quarterback start or sit decisions for fantasy football in 2020. Inside of this video, I'm going to be going over every single matchup from Thursday Night Football all the way until Monday Night Football, and talk about whether I would start or sit the quarterbacks in each and every single matchup. Now, before we get into the video, I'd like to ask that if at any point inside this video you guys end up enjoying, please make sure to hit that subscribe button down below if you are new, and if you are not new, please make sure to hit that like button as well down below. I would really appreciate it. And before we get into it again, I'd like to give you guys a quick word from my friends and my sponsor over at OverlayDFS.com. OverlayDFS.com offers 2 games on their website, the Progressive and BRW tournaments, as well as the Matchup Shop. Personally, I think the Matchup Shop is the way to go, but obviously I play on both sides of the website. But I'd like you guys to listen real quick about the Matchup Shop. Now, the Matchup Shop is as simple as it gets. Who scores more fantasy points in a player versus player matchup? Dalvin Cook -3 points or Kirk Cousins +3 fantasy football points? It is that simple. You just pick one out of these guys. You could pick all of them and parlay them together, or you can pick all of them and not parlay them together. You can put as much money as you want. You can play as much as you want or as little as you want. You want to just bet 50 cents on it? Go ahead and slowly accumulate some cash. Make sure you guys check it out, OverlayDFS.com. It's super easy. You guys do all this research every single week to win your fantasy league, so why not win some extra cash on top of it on OverlayDFS.com. And we are back. Let's get into it. Week 11 quarterback start or sit decisions. We begin with Thursday Night Football, Cardinals at the Seattle Seahawks, and this one is a pretty simple matchup to figure out from the quarterback standpoint. We have a game that we saw a couple of weeks ago on a night game. It was either Sunday Night Football or Monday Night Football, and it was one hell of a shootout that the Arizona Cardinals ended up winning. In that matchup, both Russell Wilson as well as Kyler Murray put up big numbers for fantasy football, and that is, in my opinion, exactly what we are going to be seeing again. Under any type of duress, the Seattle Seahawks defense folds like a table in Buffalo that a bunch of Buffalo fans jump through. So this is going to be a very easy matchup for Kyler Murray to put up a high total number of fantasy football points. Same thing will be said for Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson got absolutely locked up like Kodak Black last week, playing up against the Buffalo, just kidding, that was the Cardinals playing up against the Buffalo Bills, playing up against the Los Angeles Rams. Now, why was that? That's because, again, the defense sucks so bad, and Russell Wilson just has to throw the ball like a maniac deeper into these games, and he's just going to have to air the ball out, and I think that's how it's going to go up against the Arizona Cardinals this time. I think Seattle ends up getting the better of them in this affair because the Seattle Seahawks need a bounce-back win, and this seems like the perfect bounce-back win where both teams are scoring 1 million fantasy football points and 1 million real football points, like real actual fucking points for the game. So I like both the quarterbacks in this matchup. I think both quarterbacks will be able to get it done this week for fantasy football. I would be very surprised if either quarterback busted in this matchup. Now, onto Sunday night, or not Sunday Night Football, now onto the Sunday slate of game. We got the Cincinnati Bengals at the Washington Football Team, and in this one, Joe Burrow does kind of entice me to want to start him, but he's playing up against Washington. Washington does have an all-right front seven that is pretty good at pressuring the quarterback, and we do know that Joe Burrow's offensive line is fucking atrocious. They are like a goddamn turnstile. They let anyone, hey, you want to come fucking tackle Joe Burrow? Go right ahead, and they just let him in like a goddamn bouncer at the club. It's like they're that red velvet. It's absolutely crazy. Joe Burrow is going to get laid on his ass a couple of times. I don't expect him to have a terrible game, but for fantasy football purposes, there's a lot better options this week than Joe Burrow. For the Washington Football Team, Alex Smith did all he could last week up against the Detroit Lions to have a very good game for real life as well as in fantasy football, but it wasn't enough, and it's not enough in fantasy football for me to want to be trusting Alex Smith, who just really doesn't look all that good, just kind of picked apart a very bad Detroit Lions defense last week. Next matchup here, we got the Atlanta Falcons at the New Orleans Saints, but this time, it's the remix. It's the Atlanta Falcons and Matt Ryan at New Orleans Saints, and famous, the W-Eater Jameis Winston, the Crab Stealer. This is going to be the game of the ages. I am so excited to watch famous Jameis Winston throw some fucking dimes like he ain't even trying in this matchup. Jameis Winston is a top 12 quarterback this week. This man has top 5 potential up against the Atlanta Falcons. We've seen Jameis Winston in the past in a Tampa Bay Buccaneers uniform, dotting up that Falcons defense, and I wouldn't be surprised if he absolutely laid the pipe to the Falcons like he was goddamn Plumber. I love him in this matchup. But as always, when you're starting Jameis Winston, there's always the risk that he throws like 4 fucking picks and then they just throw in Taysom Hill in this matchup. For Matt Ryan, this is a good matchup as well. Not like a plus matchup, but this is a game that typically there's a decent amount of points scored. This screams of a game where Matt Ryan accidentally throws a pick and then Jameis throws an easy touchdown. And then after that, Jameis throws an easy pick and then Matt Ryan throws an easy touchdown. It's just going to be a very interesting game to watch with your eyes, as well as for fantasy football with 2 loaded offenses. Next matchup, here we got the Pittsburgh Steelers at the Jacksonville Jaguars. And in this one, I love Ben Roethlisberger. Big Ben looked surgical last week up against the Cincinnati Bengals. We have another case of Big Ben up against a bad defense, this time up against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Ben looked very, very good last week. Like I said, he was surgical in the pocket, and I think that Big Ben will be able to have another big game here up against the Jacksonville Jaguars defense. For the Jags, it's either going to be Jake Luton or Gardner Minshew based on what I have read. I thought it was going to be Gardner Minshew, but all the websites I'm looking at, they're talking about Jake Luton, so let's just assume it's Jake Luton. Let's assume it's Jake Luton / Gardner Minshew. Either way, I don't really want to be touching those guys up against one of the tougher defenses in the NFL in the Steel Curtain. Next matchup here, we got the New England Patriots at the Houston Texans, and this one is going to be a spicy matchup because the New England Patriots need to pump some life into their veins, into their bloodstream. They need to pump it everywhere because if they lose this game and get pumped by Deshaun Watson, then this is going to be the end of a terrible season for the Patriots. Going from one of the most feared franchises, the Sith of the NFL, to becoming a pushover in the NFL. It would be crazy. As a Dolphins fan, I would love it because fuck the New England Patriots. But that does not go into the fact that I don't like the Patriots. Has nothing to do with my thoughts on fantasy football. Cam Newton, this is a good matchup for him. He looked pretty good last week up against the Baltimore Ravens. Looked good their last game as well. Before that, up against the New York Football Jets. So he has been on quite the roll. The Houston Texans defense is just awful. There are some defenses in the NFL that may look bad because they're more break, not bend. This defense, it breaks and it bends right over the fucking table to get railed by the opposing quarterback, and I think Cam Newton is going to be able to do that in this game. For Deshaun Watson, he didn't have that bright of a week last week up against the Cleveland Browns. Why is that? That's because that matchup was fucked by the weather. But that is near impossible to happen when there's a dome above the stadium in Houston, unless, obviously, the wind takes the dome and puts it somewhere else, and then it's open, and then the wind's flying everywhere, but that's not going to fucking happen. That would only happen in a movie. Deshaun Watson up against the Patriots defense is a magnifique matchup. I love Watson this week for a big bounce back spot for the Houston Texans. Next matchup here, we got the Philadelphia Eagles at the Cleveland Browns, and Carson Wentz is going to be a start, but he is a start where you put him in your lineup and you feel absolutely disgusting about it. It's like that moment at the bar when you're like, you know what, I'm going to just order some more fries. I'll just have one more thing of fries. And then out of nowhere, you've eaten like 4 things of fucking fries. Your bill is $100-something because you've drank too many Red Bull vodkas. That's just my typical Sunday afternoon. But with that said, that's like a disgusting feeling when you look back at it the next day. You feel like a fat motherfucker. And then you feel like you drank way too much and you're just dead on Monday. When in reality, you have class in like a couple hours. So you're just really in a shitty situation. And that's what it feels like starting Carson Wentz to me. It feels like you're going to feel like shit after you do it, but you do it anyways because it seems all right at the time, right? Carson Wentz has been pretty good this season. As of the last 2 games, he has not looked good at all. This Philadelphia Eagles offense looks unsynchronized. It's like they just don't look like they have practiced in weeks. It looks like they have no idea what the fuck they're doing, but I'll believe in Wentz in this matchup up against the Cleveland Browns, but I don't love them as much as the other people that I was looking at. Their rankings, they seemed a lot more confident in Carson Wentz than I do, in my opinion. You guys will see the quarterback rankings later in the week if you guys do end up enjoying this video. Again, please make sure you hit that subscribe button down below to see my rankings later in the week, as well as every single video and a live stream tomorrow and on Sunday. So with that said, I like Carson Wentz, but I don't really like him. He's a start, but I don't feel ultra confident in him. Baker Mayfield, I feel like the Cleveland Browns are going to run a train on the Philadelphia Eagles by running the ball. Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt had some ungodly number of rushing yards. It was like 200 plus rushing yards in that matchup. It was something insane in the membrane, but Baker Mayfield now with Chubb back, the 1-2 punch of Kareem as well as Nick Chubb just makes it so that Baker Mayfield is pretty much unstartable at this point, especially since Baker hasn't looked all that good and the weapons around him besides Jarvis are frankly bad. Next matchup here, we got the Detroit Lions at the Carolina Panthers. Now, in this matchup, it appears that Matthew Stafford has hurt his fingy. He hurt his finger. He has a torn ligament in his throwing hand, which is not good. But Matthew Stafford ain't no bitch. He ain't no pussy. He's going to go out there and slay the pussies. The Panthers, get it? The cats, the Panthers, pussy. Pretty funny. Maybe not. With that said, the Carolina Panthers don't have a good defense. Matthew Stafford looks pretty good. Looked very good last week. Now, I have trouble really putting a complete faith in Matthew Stafford, considering he has looked hit or miss thus far this season. I really don't feel like it's his fault. It's more on the coaching and the fact that they actually like to run the ball a decent amount now with DeAndre Swift. But with that said, I'm going to believe in Matthew Stafford this week. Now, I am going to be sitting down Teddy Two Gloves, Teddy Roosevelt, who also is coming into this game banged up. Why am I going to sit him? Because I don't feel like he's going to have an amazing game. Now, if you're in a deep league, Teddy Bridgewater is one of those guys that you start and you never feel bad about starting him, right? He gets you like 15 points. You're like, you know what? That was good enough. He's never really going to fuck you right in the ass, but he's never really going to just bend your opponent over and raw dog them sweetly into the night. He just never does that, frankly. But with that said, I still feel like he just doesn't provide enough upside with him coming into this game injured for me to want to start him. But maybe he proves me wrong, as he normally does, and plays very well in this matchup. Next game here, we got the Atlanta Titans at the Baltimore Ravens, the rematch of a game from last year in the playoffs, where if you guys seem to remember, the Tennessee Titans, man, they brutalized the Ravens. They murdered the Ravens like O.J. Simpson murdered his fucking girlfriend/wife, right? It was an absolute catastrophe for the Baltimore Ravens last year. I think Lamar Jackson has a revenge game here and looks good. Now, it's not because I think Lamar Jackson is as good as he was last year. He just frankly has not looked that good, but the Tennessee Titans defense looks nowhere near as good as they did last season in that playoff game, and I really think that Lamar Jackson is going to be able to get freaky in the backfield and run all over the Tennessee Titans. And I say run all over because that's where he gets a majority of his points at this point in the season. Ryan Tannehill is just on that edge of being a starter, but I'm going to sit him this week. The Ravens defense has looked tough as nails. And the Titans? Are they dead? I don't know. I hope they're not dead because I like the Titans. I'm a Dolphins fan, but I still respect the Titans because they got my guy Ryan Tannehill. But I'm not going to be starting Ryan Tannehill this week. I think the matchup might be a little too tough for Mr. Tannehill. Next matchup here, we got game of the century, game of the millennium, the New York Football Jets at the Los Angeles Chargers. And this one has an easy start in it, and that is Justin Herbert the pervert, a.k.a. Horse Cock Herbert for the Chargers. This is such a cupcake matchup. It is a easy, simpleton matchup. It's a close your eyes, throw him into your lineup, lock of the week, because you just simply can't sit Justin Herbert. This man is on a roll like no other, and Justin Herbert has looked so strong as of recently, and this Jets defense looks like complete and utter shit. It is going to be the holy matrimony of a quarterback matchup. A good quarterback versus the Jets, getting married. Justin Herbert rails the Jets and divorces them after the game. I love Justin Herbert in this matchup. Cool Joe Flacco is going to be the starting quarterback for the New York Football Jets because Mono Man Sam, oh, my fucking arm hurts. Mono Man Sam is a bitch. Sam Darnold, your days are numbered, little man. Sorry to say that. Obviously, Jets fans, they don't give a fuck. They want Trevor Lawrence. I hope they accidentally win this game, and they don't end up getting him because I'm a Dolphins fan, and I hate the Jets. But with that said, Joe Flacco legitimately looked really, really good the game against the Patriots. They had a bye last week. I wouldn't be surprised if he lit up the Chargers, to be completely honest with you, but I don't think anyone in their right mind has the cojones, they have the balls to throw Joe Flacco into your lineup. If you do, you can honestly pay huge dividends on this matchup because the Chargers defense is grade A bad, but there's no way I'm playing Joe Flacco. Next matchup here, we got my Dolphins at the Denver Broncos, and in this one, I don't like either quarterbacks. Now, Drew Lock is coming into this matchup dead. Through not one, not two, not three, but 4 INTs last week. He bruised his ribs, he hurt this, he hurt that, but it seems like he's going to play. If he ends up missing, Brett gripping it and ripping it is going to be the quarterback for the Broncos, but either way, I don't want to play anyone up against this Dolphins defense. Now, I'm not just saying this as a Dolphins fan. I've read this. The Dolphins have a top 5 defense in the NFL, per a lot of people's thinking. Some people even have them as a top 3 defense. Do I think that? I don't know. I see them more as a top 5 defense, but they're definitely a fierce unit, and I think that they're going to be able to lock down whichever quarterback it is in this matchup. For the Dolphins, I feel like this one is going to be a murder of those horses in Denver and the Broncos, so I don't think Tua is going to be able to get that many points because I think the defense is probably going to score. And I think, frankly, the whole second half of the games are just going to be, or the second half of this game is just going to be Tua handing it off to Salvon Ahmed, handing it off to whoever is back there, and them just moseying through the game because they're not going to have to do anything when the Dolphins defense murders Drew Lock / Brett Ripken. So I don't think that Mr. Tua Tagovailoa is going to be all that useful in this matchup. Even though it's an amazing matchup for him, it is just, in my opinion, the game script is going to go away from Mr. Tua Tagovailoa. Next matchup here, we got the Cowboys at the Minnesota Vikings, and you like that? Kirk Cousins, the king of the NFL, primetime god, 1-9 in primetime matchups. Kirk Cousins finally does it. All hail King Kirk Cousins. He beats 9-inch Nick Foles and the Bears. With that said, I don't like either quarterback in this matchup. Would I be surprised if Kirk Cousins butt-fucked the Cowboys? No. Would I be surprised if Andy Dalton butt-fucked the Vikings defense? No, but the Vikings defense has looked pretty solid as of recently. Andy Dalton doesn't look good at all, so he's going to be a sit on my bench. Kirk Cousins is a guy you could think about starting, but then again, they might get up by a zillion points because the Cowboys defense is so bad and just run the rock gently down the stream. Merrily. Dalvin Cook for 40 fucking points, as it seems like it is every week, besides last week, of course, that is. Next matchup here, we got the Green Bay Packers at the Indianapolis Colts, and this is another case of a no-brainer matchup. You're going to sit the man with 7,000 kids, Mr. Phillip the Thrill-Up Rivers, up against the Packers defense. The Packers defense isn't even all that great, but I just think that this Colts offense is so heavily dominated by the running game. And if I said that 4 months ago, I would have jizzed in my pants thinking, oh, Jonathan Taylor is going to score 7 million points, but Jonathan Taylor is irrelevant at this point. It seems like it's going to be Nyheim Hines, it's going to be Wilkins. Maybe Jonathan Taylor even scores a tutty in this game, but with that said, I think that the quarterback play is non-essential to a Colts point scoring in this matchup, so I don't think Rivers is going to be all that useful in fantasy football. For the Packers, again, it's no brainer. Mr. Discount double check, Aaron Rodgers, the State Farm man, is going to eviscerate the Colts defense. Now, the Colts defense does look pretty good as of recently, so that is a bit scary for me. So he doesn't really have top 3, top 5 potential on the week, but he's a nice safe quarterback pretty much on a weekly basis. So Aaron Rodgers is going to be a start in this matchup. Next game here, we got Sunday Night Football between the Kansas City Chiefs at the Las Vegas Raiders. And I love both quarterbacks in this matchup. For the Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes is obviously going to be a must start every single week. You drafted this motherfucker in the top 2 rounds of the draft, and he has thrown only 1 INT this year. A lot of debate between, is it going to be Rodgers for MVP? Is it going to be Russell Wilson? Is it going to be Josh Allen? Not many people are talking about the best player in the league, Patrick Mahomes, who may end up winning that MVP this season. I would not be surprised at all. This Raiders defense is complete and utter butt cheeks going back to this game. So Patrick Mahomes should be able to put up a monster spot here up against the Raiders defense. For Derek Carr, he has actually looked very good thus far this season. This team has looked very good as well. I don't expect Devontae Booker to score a touchdown in this matchup, which will elevate Derek Carr even further in this matchup, potentially throwing in a shootout up against these guys. Now, I know I told you guys to sit all of the wide receivers in the wide receiver starter sit video. Why is that? Because I have no clue which one is going to be that actually gets the points, but I do think Derek Carr will be able to do very well in this matchup. Not like a top 10 guy, but he does have the top 12 upside up against the Chiefs. The Chiefs defense is pretty scary, but they are going to have to be throwing the ball so much that I think he's going to be able to get it done in this matchup. And final game of the week, Monday Night Football, Rams at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And in this one, I'm going to be firing out everyone's favorite quarterback, or actually everyone's least favorite quarterback, Tampa Bay, Tom Brady. The Bucs have weapons like their name was goddamn Rambo Sylvester Stallone. You know, in the movie, that guy's got a lot of guns. Tom Brady has all of the weapons that he needs to beat the Rams. Now, the issue, the Rams defense looks very good. So temper your expectations on Tom Brady this week. I don't think he's going to be a top 5 guy, but I do think he should hover around the 15 to 12 range this week for quarterback, which in my opinion certifies them as a start. Now, the Goffinator, Jared Goff, could be good. But the thing is, when we see Jared Goff play these defenses that are pretty good, the man fucking folds in poker like he's in playing poker. He literally just like shows all, like he's not wearing glasses at the table or anything. He's just sweating beads. He looks like he is going to shit himself and he forgot to bring a diaper to the game. Jared Goff is either the Golfinator. He's either going to be looking like Tom Brady. He'll either look like Tom Brady or he's going to look like Mitch Trubisky, Mark Sanchez, a player like that. That's the issue with the Goffinator. He either looks really good or really bad, and up against a tough defense, I am actually very scared for Jared Goff in this matchup. So thank you guys all so much for watching. I love each and every single one of you motherfuckers. Thank you all so much. It really does mean a lot. We are almost at 1,500,000 views. Not 1,500,000, 1,500,000 views, which is absolutely crazy. I really do appreciate the support you guys have shown me. I love you all. Patreon.com/notoriousfantasy, where you can get my rankings as well as advice. I guarantee I will answer your question on there if you DM me. It's $7.50 a month if you guys need that extra help. Make sure you guys check that out. Make sure you guys also check out overlaydfs.com. I really do love you all. It means so much, the support you guys have shown me. It really just does. I really appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys did end up enjoying and you're new, please make sure to hit that subscribe button. I won't keep you guys for too much longer. I love you all. Have a great rest of your guys' day, and I'll see you beautiful bastards in about a couple of hours with the tight end video. Actually, the trade target video for the day. I love you all. Goodbye.